as the title says, I'm just not convinced by the new MacBook Air M2. You know, I had high hopes for it. They're obviously supposed to have released it last year. They didn't. They were holding out. Obviously, situation in the world meant that they couldn't release it at that time. Yeah, it just seems a bit underwhelming. I mean, obviously the M2 is more powerful than the M1, but today I actually got a chance to go into a store and an Apple store as well, and literally just hold it alongside the MacBook Air M1. Now the thing I did notice, obviously with the color, was this midnight color, and it was surprisingly just a tad bit lighter to hold. And you know, even lifting this one, it's not fully balanced. The weight's more on the sort of near the hinge side of the laptop, whereas that one was fully balanced and it felt a bit nice as well. It's almost like the MacBook Pro, but a trimmed down version obviously, but it's not actually much lighter. It's only a few grams, but it was actually satisfying to actually quite hold. Keyboard obviously was exactly the same. Build quality was exactly the same, but they just changed the design enough to make sure that it was quite different. Now this, when I hold it, it does feel a bit more weighty towards the MacBook Air logo, like it's dragging it down, whereas there, they managed to spread it all out. And even when I shut the lid and picked it up, it was really good. It's that sort of MacBook Pro design that they had, so that's what struck me. The fact you've got the MagSafe charger and it leaves the two USB ports open. I know that was an annoyance for a lot of people with external hard drives to then also lose one of those slots, but with the MacBook Air M2 you don't have to do that. The color's fantastic. The midnight color. People complaining that it scratches easily. So the alternate that I have seen being mentioned is the Starlight option. With regards to the M2 variants, I mean, 8-core GPU for the base one, 10-core GPU for the next one up. I don't know how much difference that's going to actually make in terms of real world tests, but I think most people will be fine with the M2. But still, the M1 itself is still fantastic. Now the 13-inch screen, obviously it's slightly bigger, slightly higher as well, but it did look a lot nicer. It didn't feel larger to me as such. But when I had the Air 1 next to the M2, I didn't quite catch it on video because they were quite far apart. And I didn't want to pull it out of the charging socket, otherwise the security would have gone for me in the store. But it did look a lot better than the MacBook Air M1. I'm not going to lie. The design is an upgrade. I'm still not a fan of the notch. It does give you 1080p FaceTime. I know there's probably a way to hide it by having a black bar. So that's obviously quite a possibility. Reportedly, the SSD is meant to be slower. I haven't looked up at how much slower, whether your general user is going to notice that completely. But I mean, if you've got a previous variant, particularly the Intel ones, because they were the only ones before the MacBook Air M1, then definitely go for this. There's no debate about that. If you've got the MacBook Air M1, unless you're going to sell it and get some money back, it's really tricky. It's the reason why I haven't got it. I've been really tempted to order it, but it's just that price range. Now, had I not got this, then yeah, I would have ordered that straight away. But I've made an investment in this. The thing is, I haven't got cash lying around. I can't buy two. I mean, I could potentially buy it and then sell this one. That is something I'm considering. But I mean, when I tried out the MacBook M2 in store, obviously you can't really tell the difference when you're just generally using it. Screen was a tad bit brighter, and it turns out this one's got a few more nits at 500 compared to the MacBook Air M1's 400 nits. Overall, it's an upgrade, but it's Apple being their usual minimalistic upgrade. But £1,200 for a MacBook Air. I mean, technically, it's not the base MacBook Air, if you know what. Well, not the cheapest one out there, because the M1 is still on sale. Now, had the M1 been pulled off of sale, then obviously you could say, Apple, come on, what are you playing at? But it's quite interesting. I did put out a poll recently whether people are interested in pre-ordering this, and it turns out a lot of people are now considering the M1 because of the introduction of the M2 and the increased price hike. I mean, don't get me wrong, this is a fantastic machine. Oh, speaking of screen, there is something I did secretly in the store which I didn't actually film. I actually got the screen off the MacBook Air M2, and I'm not going to do it in my one because I'm scared. I was kind of pivoting it from left to right, and there was the same amount of flex you get with the Air 1, and it didn't actually crack. I don't know what I would have done if it had cracked, but I suspect that the MacBook Air M2 could actually have a stronger screen, but don't quote me on that. It's just me suspecting. I mean, like I said, I haven't actually done that bendy screen test on my one, because I don't want mine to break really. But when I was trying the trackpad as well, there was something about it, the clicky. I don't know if it was because I was standing up, I was in a store, but it just felt different. It could be my imagination, but I've noticed other people sort of noticing that. It's almost like I had to force it down. But I suppose even when I click this one, if I click once, it does a click. If I hold it down, it clicks twice. And I kind of had that feedback, and it was very strong. It almost felt like I had to force it, which was weird. I noticed the Touch ID button was a bit bigger, and it was more prominent as well. So I don't know if that's for accuracy, or maybe there were issues with this one. I haven't actually noticed anything wrong with this one as well. But I actually like the design of the MacBook Air M2. If I had to choose a design, I would choose the design of the MacBook Air M2, because quite simply, it's just a stylish looking thing. It really is. But yeah, I mean, again, I'm not really convinced by it because I've got the MacBook Air M1, but it just looked really good. I mean, I kind of want to hold it again. It's got the 4 rubber feet at the bottom. I mean, saying that, so is this one. But yeah, it's just really weird. I mean, because obviously it's a new thing. If you've got the old one, you're going to obviously want it. But that notch, I mean, I don't know if there's a way to hide it. Laptops should not be having an intrusive notch like that. I mean, that just ruins the view. Obviously, if you're watching streaming or anything, that would automatically be black anyway. And yeah, you'll get used to it. We've got used to it on our iPhones as well. But I mean, is it Apple just saying, yeah, we're Apple, we can do what we want, we can put a notch, and you lot will still buy our laptops? Well, it's true, people are still buying them. But yeah, don't take it lightly. But yeah, I was quite impressed mainly with the design side of it. The M1 was strong as it is. You know, that there's no doubt about that. The M2, obviously they couldn't make too strong because they've still got the Max, M1 Max and Pro models still out. But Midnight seems to be a popular one, as I mentioned before. It seems to scuff easily. I mean, I can't remember who I saw on YouTube. They literally just had a couple scuff marks after pulling out the USB cable, which is terrible really. So, and it's supposed to be a fingerprint magnet, which is not very good, whereas this one's quite tough. It said go for one of the other colors. The MagSafe is obviously a lovely return. I believe you can still charge it via USB, so that's still good. No fan as well. But overall, if you've got a MacBook Air M1, and if you have a way to get rid of your MacBook Air M1 and make a bit of cash on it, or if you're just super rich, go for it. I don't see why not. In terms of performance, they say up to 30% for the chip. Now, I am not convinced by that. I don't think in real world situations it's going to be that. I'm not sure how much optimization certain software can give, because obviously a lot of them were still Intel based, the software, and have only recently been patched for M1 slowly, bit by bit. So I don't know, is M2 similar architecture? It probably is. There should be no concern. But oh, here it is, 1.4 times. Okay, 40%. They're saying video effects, image filter effects 1.2, gaming 1.3. But if you've watched my previous videos, I just come on Apple, get Steam working. Scene edit detection, photo stitching, ProRes video transcode. Now this is quite interesting. 3 times as fast. Image upscaling 1.2. I mean, I don't need to see compared with an Intel-based MacBook Air because they were rubbish. So I'm going to skip part. 15 times faster video editing. That's crazy. Yeah, Apple ecosystem, love that. But yeah, I mean, it's very expensive for an Air model. It is fantastic though. You get what you pay for. If you have got the MacBook Air M1, you're gonna struggle. You're gonna really struggle. The 1080p FaceTime HD camera is a nice addition, because I've obviously seen the 1080p camera on the iPad Pro, the 1080p camera as well, with video calling with the iPhone, or is it 4K? I think it's 4K on the front. Anyway, that looks amazing, and the video cam on this, although they've used software to sort of clean it up, the 720p just doesn't cut it. Speakers are brilliant as always, and yeah, it is a fantastic piece of kit. I'm surprised that the 3.5mm headphone jack is still there. I'm surprised they haven't got rid of it. But credit to Apple, considering other users like other laptop companies like Dell XPS, for instance, they're just cutting it away. Asus ZenBook as well. And yeah, this is another thing they're advertising, recycled material. Does that mean my MacBook Air is cheap? Or will it just give me a bit of good conscience while I'm using it? But yeah, let me know what you think in the comments below. That was just my thoughts on it. It was nothing scripted here. You could probably tell by my ums and buts and all the spaces, but I kind of just wanted to let that go. And yeah, look, M1 chip available right here, which is probably why they're pricing it higher. If they had to get rid of the MacBook Air, this M2 chip would be under £1,000. But because the MacBook Air M1 is still selling, they're going to leave it. And M3 chip, don't even bother waiting. It could be another couple years before we get it. But yeah, let me know what you think in the comments below. Oh, before I do, I had to look up how much a MacBook Air would get in credit. £390. I can sell it for twice as much on eBay. Shame on you, Apple. Come on, you should be given a bit more at least. Anyway, let me know what you think in the comments below. Like and subscribe, and until next time.